You work out a lot, right? And I was curious about a couple things.
Okay.
For example, could you or could you not hip thrust 175 pounds?
I probably could. I don't hip thrust a lot though, because I'm a little baby, and like when I put the bar on my hips, I'm like, this hurts. Like some women that can do 600 pounds, I go, that's a woman, not me.
But let's say if like it wasn't a bar you were hip thrusting.
Yeah. I mean, usually like the cutoff is like my body weight for, a human, because past that, it's just like, I feel like I'm the bottom instead. So,
yeah.
Tristan, how much can you squat?
Probably. Tony? What do you weigh?
I'm 185 pounds. You
I think I could do it.
Could you hip thrust that?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah.
I think so.
See, I could probably hip thrust you. I guess it depends on how you choose to sit, though.
That's really important.
Why are you looking at me? I'm not part of this.
We're just
talking. What are you talking about?
No.
This is a hypothetical.
Yeah.
We're asking you for the logistical input of how to
hip thrust.
You're a woman. You would know how to
hip thrust another man. Like, should it be like, should he lay horizontally on him? Should he lay vertically?
True. Oh, if you're like physically hip thrusting his body as a weight.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. Was it like, do it like where you can spin it? So it'd just be like, woo, like you just spin him either way. So like,
ooh.
Yeah.
Where you can spin it?
Like helicopter? Like he's laying down on you flat on his stomach and you just like spin him wherever you want.
That's like
however it's comfortable for you, and just go like whoop.
That's like acrobatic or like,
yeah.
That's more like calisthenics.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm just trying to like figure what's it spinning on. Like that's.
I feel like okay. The one doing the hip thrusting, facing up. The one on top also facing up.
Right, and then he's spinning.
And he's spinning around.
Right. Yeah, like a
That's the
top.
only way that works.
Yeah.
Yep.
Spinning around like a top, exactly.
Yeah.
There's just like a central bolt.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like that'd be for for safety. Just make sure he stays in place so he doesn't fall off.
Yeah, you're gonna need a spotter.
Oh, so there'd be 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you work out a lot too?
Are you asking Tristan?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Okay. I'm like.
I'm not like a power lifter though.
Yeah, but I can tell you got like, kid's got some build.
I work out. Yeah.
You can tell. You can tell. But the reason I ask is it's like, do you spot guys like on bench from the front?
I would.
Okay. Yeah. See, that's important to have a guy like that.
Yeah. I would do bench too and get spotted.
I would argue it's more respectful to spot somebody from the front than from the back.
It is.
Yeah, like I mean, if you think about like where you're laying, like somebody's up here and like their nuts are by your head, they're like teabagging you. But if they spot you from the front, then they're looking at you. They're just.
I want to look somebody in the eye.
Wait, so they're spotting you from the front. So like, are they like standing by your chest? Like, are they standing?
It's a straddle. It's you
want to.
You're supersetting. You want to do hip thrust while you bench. So like one part, bench, and then the other part thrust.
Bench.
He's making sure your like butt stays flat on the bench.
Like that's there's a difference between being a bottom and being a power bottom.
Yes.
And that's power bottom energy.
So
power bottom fucks back.
Being a power bottom in the lifting sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, the more you know.
Educational
I was kind of wondering.
podcast.
My boyfriend said he had like a few spotters at the gym he really liked, so maybe this is what he's been doing the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean.
Did they happen to be a Hispanic guy and a white guy?
Wait, do you go by Julio?
I don't know. It's like usually when I spot your boyfriend, it's in the shower, but like.
Oh,
there you
are.
At
the gym? Yeah. Oh, I didn't know you guys knew.
Have you guys ever seen like old man balls at the gym? Like.
No, actually. No.
Fortunately, I have not seen old man balls at the gym.
Maybe a long time ago.
So I used to go to this commercial gym in college, and there was always this man. When I went Tuesdays and Thursdays, like during class, college schedules, he was always there. So I could always count on seeing Tuesday balls. Like fucking, he would sit and sprawl after he took a shower. he was maybe like 300 pounds and
He's
like
gotta let him air
5'8",
out.
and he would just sprawl on it. He'd sit in the sauna, balls just out and about,
He would sit in the
And-
sauna naked?
naked.
Not even with a towel?
Nope. He'd put the towel under him, but his balls would just be out and about. Like, and he was a very big dude, so he would sweat a lot. And after he got out of the sauna, he'd sit on the bench where like the changing area is, just drying off. And he would always go, like, and I shit you not, it'd be like 35 minutes. Like if it was a quick workout, I'm like, oh shit, I just gotta do a couple things and head out. Sometimes he'd beat me, like or I'd beat him rather to like leave. Like he'd still be there, like just
chilling,
yeah. I just
doing his like deep breaths. I imagine like the cheek prints on the bench, like he's like sweaty as fuck, and then he.
You're imagining
Bro, and
correctly.
then- but have
You're
you-
imagining correctly.
Did you imagine like his cheeks and you'd be like, you like see the imprint, you'd be like, I mean,
I'm pretty sure
good,
like
he got really good cheeks though.
I'm pretty sure like the finish on that bench like started to like wear out around his ass. Like they were just.
The like acid in his sweat was breaking down the,
Oh my
the
goodness.
lacquer.
Do you know the like golden Donkey Kong from Mario Brothers?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So this dude was like an older man. And he had like full white hair, but he looked like the golden Donkey Kong because of how he was built. But he didn't have Donkey Kong balls. Like it was just like
I was gonna
That's
say
what I was gonna
like
ask. I was like, was he? Did he have good balls?
I don't know. I was gonna
Like,
say.
no.
I was like, was his like dick and balls so
it wasn't
they
impressive.
even looked really small because he was so big?
Yeah, but they were also just small. So it was just like that's
Damn.
why I respected it eventually. I grew to appreciate him because he didn't care.
Yeah.
Everybody knew that like he was an issue to the guys, but like a guy's not gonna be like, oh, like this guy won't stop showing us his balls because he wasn't showing us his balls. We were just looking, you know, like
But like so like he was able to spread it enough where you could see it, but did his like stomach hang down over them?
Yep.
So you couldn't even see it.
you could kind of see it. Which is why I'm saying that like we would, if you were looking for his balls, you could see his balls, but he wasn't outwardly like showing anybody. So it was like, is he just a fat naked guy or is he like a creep? You know, like
What a like mind game though that is, to where it's like you can't say anything because
Right.
if you saw my balls, it meant you were looking for them.
right, and he's like technically like, if it's a changing room, you could argue I was just changing or I was just, you know, like
When he's sitting there for 45 minutes.
yeah, he's like, why isn't he respecting my privacy? But no, you just be like,
I've seen a lot of older naked women in the changing room, and they don't care. They just like whip it off.
has there been like a coochie that you just were like, oh shit, like
I
good
never
for you? Like,
ever looked down. I always like I would see the tits and I'd turn around immediately. I never openly tried to stare at their coochie.
but I feel like tits, like you just expect to like as you get older start to droop more and more, like as life beats them down.
Oh
like,
yeah, I've seen
you know, but-
old lady tits that were just like whoa, and you're like, oh,
Yeah, but
that's
if you
how low hanging it can get.
but if you saw like a pristine cooch, you'd be like, damn, like no cobwebs even, like
Oh my god, I don't know. I haven't
Well
had the
preserved.
opportunity to
Yeah,
like
well,
look
pickled.
at old lady coochie. Just mainly tits, because you're like looking for something. You're looking for your locker, and then you see tits, and you're like, oh.
I think that's where guys are different, is because we have to like, I think it's a comparison thing. It's like if you see balls, you're like, what do they got?
Yeah, it's
what
like,
are they
all right,
working
let's
with?
see
So you're saying you guys naturally look down if you see a dude naked?
It's like a quick scan.
like
Oh.
It's cataloging.
It's cataloging. And it's almost
Cataloging?
subconscious. It's almost subconscious,
So
but
it's
you
like
go
a-
like, I definitely kind of wanted to,
Male,
to like make sure
a
because
male
like
ego check to
Yep.
see if yours is bigger.
Yep.
I had this one guy tell me, well, it was interesting because he was a gay guy, and he was like, they like were making fun of him in middle school for like being gay and all this stuff, and they'd be like, oh, show us your dick. I think it was like they were like, show us your dick, because I think he was like showering in like the middle school gym, I mean like, you know, the locker room. And then he's like, yeah, I made sure that when I got out of the shower, they saw like, because they were saying he had a really small dick, and they were making fun of him for being gay and having a small dick. But he goes, when I got out of the shower, I had my massive dong out, and they all just looked at me in shock and horror. And he goes, yeah, and that's when they learned I'm a grower, not a shower.
Respect.
I was just like, I don't know why that still sticks with me. I haven't spoken to this person in like 6 years, but I'm just like, this weird story about like people making fun of him for having a small dick, but the one time the bully saw him like leave the shower with a hard I believed him too. I don't think he was like, I don't know why a gay guy would brag to me about how big his dick was, because he was gay and I'm, you know, a woman. So I think he was being truthful.
Yeah.
I have a buddy that he played football. I didn't, but everybody else told us. He would chase all the other guys around with his dick out in the showers, and he wouldn't he'd do it to a harassment level of like where people were like, yo, like it's not funny anymore, like stop. So he wouldn't stop, and like, you know that old trick where you like get like a hand towel and like you roll it up and you like smack somebody like that. So because he wouldn't leave them alone, one dude in particular just got mad and started like whacking him with that, but he did it so hard and he got him like on the ball sack that it split his ball sack open. Yep. And he had to be rushed to the emergency room. And he, after middle school, only had one nut. So he was one nut. And
oh my god!
Because that's probably like I don't know that there was ever like a police report or anything, but I do know that like it was probably something that the like school district had to get involved for.
Yeah, I've heard of that happening though. Where like
what?
The towel in the locker room. Yeah, I think like
splitting open ball sacks.
Yeah. It can happen. And like guys, like even quote unquote straight guys, like if you get enough of them in a locker room, they're gonna do gay shit.
They're gonna pull out their dicks. Well, it's not only, I don't know, this is like how I've said this as a joke before, that I can always tell when minorities have white friends because they're more comfortable with gay jokes, like just acting gay together. But I think it is just in general dudes. If just enough dudes get together, it's like, all right guys, like when do we whip it out? Like
I like saw this guy briefly, and he was like a swimmer in high school, and he was telling me about like when they would get freshmen, they would like all wear like the like, I don't know, thongs, well, like Speedos, the tight Speedos, and when all the freshmen they come into the locker room, they'd be like, oh, come here boy, fresh meat, they would like do weird shit to them. I don't know if it was like, I don't know, I think they just either like they were wearing Speedos and saying weird shit. I don't know if they were like chasing each other around with towels, but
that does happen where it's like they cloak gay stuff in like initiation rituals. They're like we need to like bring this, like we need to make sure that they're like loyal and all this stuff, and they're like, what if we just like kind of did some gay stuff to them?
It's like college hazing. Like they're like, all right, we're gonna blindfold you guys and put stuff in your mouth, and you're gonna have to guess what it is, and it's like a hot dog, and then some dude like unzips his dick. It's like fuck.
But why?
I don't know, man. It's just,
it's natural.
I wouldn't do it, but I feel like I am aware
you
that
want to do it.
No, I'm saying I wouldn't do it, but I'm aware that as a guy, like there's a guy in the group that's gonna suggest like, yo, should we do, like when you fall asleep and somebody draws a dick, it's like that, but like the more evolved version of like, let's actually put our nuts on his face.
I know a comedian that would do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think most
I don't say his name, but
Cosby or like
famous, or no, you're talking about local comic. Yeah,
that would.
I won't say his name though.
Oh shit! Who do I got to be wary of? I'm too trusting, dude. I'll fall asleep anywhere, and I sleep with my mouth open. So I'm just.
Most people sleep with their mouth open.
Exactly. That's why this becomes a problem.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like maybe that's what it is. Like we just, as guys, we're inherently like on guard for that because we're like, when is it gonna pop off? And like.
You're always waiting for somebody to stick their dick in your mouth?
I'm just saying, at a party, I wouldn't fall asleep if there were too many guys.
Yeah, because all they're gonna see if you fall asleep is a hole.
Yep.
Back. Welcome to Comedic Behavior Therapy. I'm Heather Scott.
I'm Tristan Shae. And we have a special guest that we're very excited to have with us today. Comedian from the city of Columbus, Tony Cruz.
Tony B. Cruz. I have to make the distinction
Tony
now.
B. Cruz.
Mm-hmm. There's apparently another Tony Cruz in Austin, Texas that Halima Abshir told me about.
Oh.
But she said, one, he's half white, half Mexican, I want to say, and two, he's not funny, is what she said. That's not my words.
Okay.
She said Tony Cruz is not funny before she went to Texas, though, so it's okay.
Yeah. So you being
Tony B. Cruz,
you're not half white, half Mexican, right?
No,
just Mexican.
Mm-hmm. Just a Mexican,
full-blooded. Yep.
So you had
just
to
a Mexican.
Add the B in there for.
It's my first last name.
Yeah.
Is what the B is for, but
oh
yeah no, I saw your Facebook name. I was like, oh, the B, I know why now. Yeah
because you can't pronounce it.
Bologna,
just
Bolaños. Yeah, but
Is there a tilde or is it
yeah, there is.
Okay.
So it's Bolaños.
Bolaños?
Yeah,
Bolaños.
but Cruz is easier for people to say, so it's just Tony B. Cruz. You know? Yeah. That's why I go by that.
So we fucked up the intro, but
We did. Yeah, and I also brought up another Tony Cruz, so I should have probably kept the focus on myself. Fuck that guy.
Focus
Tony
on
Cruz in
yourself.
Austin.
Stop people pleasing everyone
okay.
else,
We'll-
Tony. We're all recovering people pleasers here on this podcast.
yeah,
That's why you're our
try this
special
again.
guest.
Let's try this again.
Okay.
We have a special guest on our podcast with us today, a comedian from Columbus, Ohio, Tony B. Cruz.
I'm actually from Mexico.
God damn it!
I'm sorry. I just wanted to be a dick to mess
I
up
know,
the
it's
intro
like,
again.
Tony,
No,
I just want to correct you.
Yeah. Before you got here, we were like, it'd be so funny to ask him how much he could hip thrust.
No, I said it. I'm like, if you and Tony ran off together, I wouldn't be surprised.
And I was like, why don't we ask him? No context. We're not going to warn anything. We're just going to say like, so how much could you hip thrust? Like,
And you just went with it like we thought you would.
I was like, this is good content. It'd be good content.
But I didn't know you would actually do it. Cause
No, like I'm pretty sure like they could feel the sexual tension. Like it was just glaring, but
Well, that was what we were like. We need that like the awkward pause in between and all of this. Like, just let it build.
I feel like who told us this that we look
Was
similar? Okay, it was Heather, but this is what I was also talking to with Josh and a couple other comedians that like the gay couples that I see that like stick together and always like work out. They date themselves. Like it's a guy that looks so much like them.
They're so narcissistic. They're fucking themselves. They're like
It's the
they somehow
narcissism.
dress the same or they work out the same. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen
like
lesbian
their family
couples
said-
too. Like they dress the same.
Yeah, it's funny, but it's like what your parents told you to go fuck yourself, and you're like, I will. You know?
Oh my god.
Look at me now, mom.
Yeah, it's really funny, but maybe it's because maybe they were together for a long time, or I don't know.
Oh, that's true. The longer people are
Like
together,
couples,
the more they
like
look
the couples that always
You're
dress
right.
the same, or they wear the same colors, or like they always wear the same, like they always wear matching shirts, or they wear matching outfits. Me and Devin sometimes actually wear like the same color, and like I went
like,
somewhere, yeah.
Coordination's different than matching, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, coordination is different. Coordination is cute. Matching is like a little like
It's tacky,
alright.
like 'cause,
all right.
yeah, we get it. You're in
mean,
love.
yeah.
She cheated.
Yeah.
Whatever.
No, that's. I mean,
you
that, I
know,
was gonna
like,
say, yeah. She like one of them definitely cheated if they're wearing matching stuff all the time.
it just feels like too like outwardly like something's wrong.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like that.
it's like a cover.
There was a post a while back that said like, you know, that like a married couple's having problems when the fall pictures
photo
come out.
shoot. Hell yeah, yep. That's exactly what I was thinking
I
of.
didn't know that. Is that a real thing?
That's a thing. Yeah.
No, because the one roommate that I talked about, and she was constantly like cheating on her boyfriend, and she was always posting like very long messages and posting pics of
Why
them
else would you feel the
all
need to do
time.
that? People know that if you're with somebody, you probably love them. You know, otherwise, like,
Yeah.
it just feels like
That's why
outward
for-
like deflection.
For years, that's why I never posted pictures of me or Devin.
You're like, I don't want anybody to
then, like,
know.
they can't know that we're fight. Like we're having like a fight, or we had one fight, and then one time I posted something for his birthday, and I thought about it. I was like, were we fighting? So why I posted for his birthday this year and not last year?
That's true. You got to be consistent. It's the inconsistency that tells. Like,
Oh my god, maybe we were fighting.
you might have been.
No, we don't. I mean, it's not.
Somebody bring up the Facebook feed.
I don't know. That's
Yeah,
funny.
that's a
Yeah,
re-
you're
it's
just
a
like
real
you're like
thing.
you want to know what the fight was? I don't know. Don't remember.
Yeah, I'm nosy. I like to
You're
say,
like,
hey,
what
tell
are
me
you
about your
guys fighting
personal issues.
Yeah.
Oh well, we already got into that before off podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming here, for coming to a random address that Tristan sent you.
Yeah, I didn't specify whose
you didn't
house it was.
specify where it was, whose house it was, if it was a house or if it was a studio. So you just walked up.
It'd be funny if it was like a vacant lot. I was like, meet me here.
Well, it just looked like a residential area, and I
Yeah.
thought, like, okay, well, worst case, I rob them, and like then,
There you go. You still win either way.
yeah, it's like
I don't know what you would take. I mean, maybe a ring light and like a cat, but
I'd probably like steal a cat.
Probably,
probably
the cat.
you
Yeah,
probably would
been-
steal one of them. They're pretty
I'd-
cute.
Are they like vaccinated, up to date with all their shots, or
I can't disclose that at this time.
okay? See, that's why I want to like adopt from a rescue center and not just like pick one up off of the street because they already took care of all the bills for
Exactly.
you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know those are good
Then
to
you just
go.
gotta pay them like $20 for a finder's fee.
We did that a couple times where like we had like a cat that like we had to do everything from scratch, and it was like you had to like get it neutered and you have to get all the shots and everything, and usually you end up taking it to the shelter anyway to do all that kind of thing. So it's like I might as well just cut out the middleman
and just take it there first and then
Yeah.
come back a couple weeks like, is it up for adoption?
Yeah. Oh my
Like,
God.
wait, aren't you the asshole that brought it back here?
No, you have to. I don't know where I heard this. I don't know how I know that you do this, but if you like wear a mask, then they can't tell who drops off a cat at a shelter.
If you wear like a COVID mask or like a
You can do a COVID
ski mask
or a
and
luchador mask.
I don't know how people would react if someone in a luchador mask walked up and just put a cat in the like. That would be so strange.
It would be good comedic value.
What do you talk about your cats? Do people know that you're like a chronic cat abandoner?
People don't know that, but I'm okay with talking about
Are
it.
you sure?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, it paints me in a very bad light, but like
I'm sure those cats
It's
are.
for
Those cats
comedic
are
value.
better off now.
they are better off because they're with owners who actually like are prepared to care for them.
Yeah.
Good thing you didn't choose to be a foster parent, dude. Like, could
Oh
you
my
imagine that?
God.
Like,
No, see, the thing is I'm
That might
very.
have been better if you would have been a foster parent because you know there would be a time where you had to give them back and then you could test out what it was like having a cat in the first place.
Oh, you mean for cats? Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about for kids.
Oh
I was
my
talking
God.
about for kids. Yeah,
Oh, I thought you meant for cats.
yeah. Like, he was just like, well, we thought we wanted him, but actually,
No, here's the weird thing is that like people have talked to me before. They're like, you should get a dog, and I'm always like, no, I have a kid, and they're like, that's worse. But for me, it's not.
That's worse.
It's not like that. Like raising a kid for me is like easy to. I don't know. It's like easy for me to do that like mentally, like all the work
Yeah.
you have to put in. But for an
Yeah.
animal, I just don't have the same. That we
Well,
have talked about that before. I'm not an animal person.
You worked
Yeah,
with kids though, like your previous job. You
Yeah.
worked with special needs children, and now you're studying to be like a childhood therapist. And
Yeah, like right now.
that's why it so comes naturally to you. It's literally your freaking job to raise kids.
Yeah, that's
versus
true.
like a dog, you're like, ew.
I don't breed animals or whatever.
do you find them gross? Like,
It's partially that. It's also partially like so growing up, like my family kind of did the same thing with pets, where we'd have one for a little while and then like they'd get rid of it for whatever reason.
so you just didn't get attached.
I never had like an attachment to an animal.
Wow.
You
yeah.
couldn't love it.
Yeah.
You knew it was gonna go away.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so that's how it's like in my adult life too. So eventually I can probably bring myself to love an animal, but right now I'm like, it's all temporary.
Oh my god, that's so sad.
I used to have that same feeling because I didn't want to ever have a pet because I thought like one day it's gonna die,
Yeah.
and then I'm gonna be sad. So I just didn't want to have pets. But then my brother wanted a dog, and then we eventually got a dog. Then we had two dogs, and then the little baby, when he was only 3 years old, he died. And I was like, see, I fucking knew it.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
No more.
Yeah, it's
and
really.
then I got a dog,
It's really hard.
and then I lost my dog. He's still alive. He's just not my dog anymore.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
shit.
He moved out.
Oh,
Damn.
that's the worst.
See, that's like
Yeah, we're still good friends. So
you can never get too
He's- yeah,
attached.
I'm talking about like my dog, like my
Yeah.
homie. Yeah.
Yeah, your dog is your homie.
You know what I'm saying? He's a person.
Still
That's my
gets-
dog.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really.
I lost where the bit was.
No. That'd be when you basically, it's like when you move in with someone, you get pets, and then you break up. It's basically like a divorce. You're like, who gets the pet?
Yeah.
Basically, like that.
That's a movie. It's like a Hispanic movie. I think it's called like Who Gets to Keep the Dog. And it's like
Oh, really?
a romantic tragedy, not a comedy.
Oh.
Tragedy, I guess. I don't know the ending of it, but I should have probably known it
watch
before
That's
I
really
brought
funny
it up.
because I heard
Like,
of,
hey,
You just didn't want to spoil it.
yeah.
I heard of like divorce agreements where they literally have like visitation just for the animals. I worked for someone once, and she was like, "Oh, it's my weekend to get the dogs, so I can't be there Friday." And I was like, "What do you mean it's your weekend for the dogs?" She had like 3 dogs, and she goes, "Oh, because her and her ex were together for like 10 years, but they like never got married.
Yeah.
So then they like adopted 2 dogs, like a dog. It was pregnant, gave birth, so they kept so they had 3 dogs, and then she goes, "Oh, we broke up, so he drops them off, and then I pick them up, and then." It was like she had a whole custody.
That's crazy.
A custody agreement with her ex just for these dogs. So he usually would keep 2 at a time, and she would keep the 1, and then they would like switch of who gets to keep. So she either had like 1 dog or 2 of them or 3. It was crazy.
Yeah. I will say that I understand like from I guess more of like an empathetic point of view, like what animals mean to some people. Like for myself, I'm like, whatever, that's not a thing for me. But like they've done research to where like if someone loses a pet, you're like basically your like psychological response is the same as losing a family member.
Yeah.
Like, so it makes sense that they'd have custody for animals.
But I mean, it's good that like, I mean, I guess it was good she had like enough rapport with her ex that they could like drop off and trade these dogs like a custody agreement about kids.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
For me, like an animal, I'd be like, you keep it.
Oh wow.
You keep it.
It's like, cool, less bills, fine.
I know.
Do they have to pay like animal support?
I mean, I think I don't know. I think it would just be like she would be like, yeah,
From like $45 a month for like food.
She's like, it's my turn to like buy the dog, and then we had to take the dog to the vet. I mean, it sounds like they still kind of split everything for the dogs, and when she wanted to go on vacation, she just gave her ex all the dogs, and when he went on vacation, she took all of them. It was like
That is when it comes in handy.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like, so she got basically someone to watch her dogs for free, kind of, and it was an interesting thing. I mean, if I broke up with my current boyfriend, I was like, I guess you keep the cats and I can come visit. And he goes, yeah, I could be open to that. We didn't break up, but it was like at one point I was like, you know, what would happen to the cats and me?
I love that in your situation it's supervised visitation of the cats.
Basically, I mean, I actually saw one guy. He made a like a video or whatever, and he was in New York, and he was like pushing like a carrier, like a cat, like a baby thing, but it had a cat in it. Yeah, a stroller. He goes, dropping my kid off at my ex's house, and like him and his ex they were trading the cat in between the places, and he was like him and his ex boyfriend. It was so interesting.
Yeah. Crazy.
It's just really funny. Because he was pushing it in a stroller. The cat was just like screaming the whole time.
I'm just wondering how you didn't know the word for stroller. You were like, it's a baby thing. Like, you just go there.
I'm not around children.
Well, and I like zoned out.
I'm not trusted with children. Yeah, I'm not
I could have helped you out, but
I'm not trusted with children.
My brain was like, what?
I don't do babies.
Yeah. I don't know. My brain works backwards, I guess, because for me, like raising a kid is easier than raising an animal.
I don't know how on earth you could think that's even remotely easier.
Well, because if you go somewhere, then you bring your kid. Like if you go somewhere, it's like you don't have to like figure out, okay, who's gonna take care of this dog. Like there's more places you can take a kid than you can an animal.
Oh, so you mean like like they don't restrict your movements. You can take the kid with you and care for the child versus like you have to go back to your house and care for the dog.
And as the kid gets older, they're involved in more things. They like become more independent. Like a dog is always the same amount of dependent.
Yeah, like
I like how...
You don't have to take your kid outside to shit. You're just going inside.
But you have to...
And your kid can help with things. You put your kid to work.
It's like thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars of difference.
Oh, it's so much more expensive.
You're like, yeah, it's so much easier to have a kid and just take it places with you when the kid's just screaming.
Okay, if there's any person who should know the value of throwing money at a problem, it's you. It's less mental energy. You just like throw money at like, here, diapers, college education.
Wait, were you like abused? What, your parents just like gave you money and they were like, fucking figure it out?
No.
Heather does that.
Oh.
Can we talk about that? Can we tell that story?
Go ahead. It's not as funny as you think
I guess I meant neglected. Sorry, let me clarify. Not abused, neglected.
Right.
Which is
right.
Okay.
Which is emotional abuse.
Whatever. We'll move on. Just tell the story, then we'll talk about Tony.
Yes. So there was, we're looking for venues for a long time to do shows. And Heather had this one particular venue that I'm not going to say which venue because I don't want to like make it seem like we're talking bad about them or whatever. This venue, like we pitched an idea for a show to them and they were like, yeah, we're not really sure that we could close down for this time and do like a ticketed event and things like that. We would need you to put money down. And they said like somewhere around like, I think 500 for like 4 hours or something like that. Or maybe it was 1,000 for 4 hours. No,
it was like, they said realistically, if you want us to close down this venue and us not to like it to be a private ticket event, we would probably need like $1,000 to even, we would need to make $1,000 profit to even be profitable at that time. And I was like, okay, I'll give you $1,000.
And so, and then I think you like played hardball again, where you said you would give them $2,000. You were like, I will give you $2,000 right now if we can do this show. And I was like, what are you? At that point, it was like we had no strategy, because I was like, I don't know what we're doing.
It was just like, to me, how could you not take that deal?
Right. Well, and then that was the thing.
Because I was like, it's a deposit. And then on top of that, you'll make drink sales and like maybe ticket sales or something.
And so the manager of this place goes, but what if you don't make any money in tickets? She was like, you don't make any of that money back. She was like, I can't sleep at night if I take $2,000 from you. And then what if you make nothing? Now I've just like taken $2,000 from you for nothing. And
which is idiotic.
Heather got so devastated by this concept that she couldn't pay $2,000 for a venue that
$1,000
is not worth $1,000.
No, it wasn't.
But she literally started crying in the middle of the meeting. We were in a business meeting trying to pitch an idea, and Heather's like, I'm sorry, I'm just really excited about this show, and this is my passion to do events and things. And I literally, like, at that point, I was like, I didn't know what we were pitching anymore. I was like, I think we're just pitching, like, your own emotional health.
I was just about to say, it seems like Heather just wants a lady to like her.
She was willing to pay $1,000 to be accepted by...
Bro.
Could you just believe in me that I have the ability to make some money on these tickets, please?
Literally, I actually did say something like that.
Well, and that was kind of the whole thing. And at that point, I was like... Because I was going to do what is that strategy called? Where you like kind of like... It's like closing the briefcase, right? Where it's like the deal isn't like going how you want it to. So you're like, okay, well, I'll take my business elsewhere.
I'm walking.
Yeah. And you instead were like... I'll give you $1,000. And I was like, we're not on the same page right now. And so then you were like in a whole different book, and I was like, I can't catch up.
I was like, I don't know. You said I was doing like some sort of strategy where you just like, they name a crazy price and then you go, okay, I'll pay it. Because like, that's what I was going for, because I'm like, this is a transaction. So she's like this, and she was trying to outprice me. And I was like, okay, I'll give you the $1,000 then. Because she was trying to outprice me. Because I mean, like, I'm like, what? You think I don't have $1,000 to give you? Fuck yeah, I do, bitch. I mean, get $2,000.
Goddamn,
like that's what I'm saying. Is like she's trying.
Today's economy. You're gonna get robbed. You better be careful.
Maybe not post this then.
I'm kidding.
I'm kidding. Yeah,
no,
she's like, I'm white and I have $1,000.
I don't have.
And she's like, my boyfriend's black.
I don't have $1,000. It was like gonna be. I was saving money.
We were gonna get investors.
We were gonna get investors. I wasn't gonna. But my point was like she tried to outprice me, so I matched her, and she was shocked. I was like, yeah, okay, I'll give you $1,000, and if that's what you want. And then she was shocked that I was like, okay, no, never mind, because she just didn't want to do it.
What if she was just upset that she didn't have $1,000? She was like, I want these $1,000, but I just can't live with myself if I in fact know that I was right. You know, like
yeah. And then the next time we had a meeting with a different venue, I had already built up like rapport with the people we were meeting with, and you were like, what's our strategy? And I was like, our strategy is I've built up rapport and I need you to let me do my thing. And you were like, so basically don't fuck it up. And I was like,
don't cry.
I was like, we're not selling Jordan Belfort a pen. I was like, we're just pitching a show. Because you had that like, it was like Wolf of Wall Street. You were like, I am making this sale. And I was like, well, it's not making a sale if you're down.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. I learned my lesson, and I'm kind of glad that didn't happen, because I probably wouldn't have had the $1,000 to give her anyway. I was just matching her, man. Matching her energy.
It was just hard to follow. Like, I feel like I couldn't yes and that, like a real thing like that. I was like, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I feel like we should try that again. I feel like I could yes and it this time.
No, well now you couldn't, because we go to a way bigger venue.
Now I know what to expect.
Realistically, they'd probably be like, this is $1,000.
Yeah.
For like a 200-person place. So like, okay, versus like a 50-person place.
Yeah.
I've never tried to like produce or organize a show like that, and I always wonder like, how do people make it happen? Because comedy, like, especially ambush comedy, like with some of the open mics that we go to that are like restaurants, and people are eating, and then all of a sudden somebody grabs the mic, it's like, hey everybody, and you can immediately see that's like, some people are like, oh fuck, where are we? Like, that's something different. But like, putting a show together where people are like, yeah, that's a thing. It's like, that boggles my mind, because I always feel like people don't want to see comedy, and then I forget. I'm like, oh no, I was a fan of this too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, this is, maybe it's just my own self-hate.
It's
It's
a
like-
learning. Like we learned how to do it. We learned how to approach venues. Obviously, with the whole $1,000 debacle, Heather learned to not match like that energy.
I wanna say, like, what you just said about like being a fan before you start it. Kind of working my way back to that has been huge for like doing this podcast, for doing shows. Like I had to remember that, like, because I got so in my own head about what we were making that it was like more of like the front end of it. But then I started basically like watching things that we would do as a consumer. So like whether it was like recording like shows that we did or the podcast or things like that, and I was like, what does the audience like, how did the audience watch this?
Yeah.
And it was kind of like a process of kind of becoming a fan of our own stuff that made me remember that like this is why we do shows, this is why we do the podcast, is because there are people who like are not quite to the point where I am, where I'm creating these things. They're still at that point where it's like you're a fan.
Yeah.
And kind of realizing like how to become my own fan.
Become your own fan and realize the work you do is good. Because Tristan texts me all the time of like stuff we said on the podcast. He goes, Heather, we're so funny, we're so amazing, and I was like, I think we're just two idiots on a podcast.
I think I send you more clips probably
you
than
do.
we post.
You
Like,
do.
I'm like, this was so funny when we said this.
Yeah, but
It's good
speaking
to have
of,
two, though. That's nice, because
Yeah.
then you have like a little check-in
Yeah.
here and there, like, oh shit, that was good. Like,
Yeah.
well, you could be our third Tony. Speaking of you, Tony. Hi, Tony.
Oh
Shaking
yeah,
his
we
head.
haven't talked about
Yeah.
that.
the only reason I shook my head was like, last time I heard you could be our third was like, no, I'm kidding.
Oh no! But I wanted to. Reason why we wanted you to be on the podcast, Tony, is because you're so much more experienced and you're so amazing. You're so funny. One of your jokes, me and you did a show together this Wednesday at the Funny Bone, opening for Big Baby. Darren Brand, he's a hilarious guy. Love him. And you told you told a joke about the symbol for white power and the
Oh, yeah.
symbol for black power. You're like rock and then paper. You're like, that's why they I can't even do it. And then like basically in front of almost a whole entire African American audience, and then you're like, yeah, this is
You know, you can say black, right? Like,
whatever, black people. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, if you did it all there in front of a whole black audience, and and then you got nervous, and you're like, oh, I was really brave for even doing it in front
no,
of
I
this crowd.
didn't get nervous. I just wanted
I know.
it was acknowledging
Yeah, it was really
that,
funny.
like, they got nervous. And by they, I don't mean the black people in the crowd. It was everybody around me
Oh, yeah.
that was not black, that they were just like, oh shit, what's he doing? And I
Oh,
was
yeah.
like, guys, it was, I don't know, because I guess those risky jokes, like, what I found is like any sort of like racial jokes, minorities especially love them, and it's generally just white people that get uncomfortable, and like that's why it's so funny to me, because they're like,
Yep.
"Oh, like who else
I
is
know.
laughing? You know, like they
It's-
want to look, but they don't want
I
to seem
know.
like that guy that's like, oh, okay,
I know,
like
I
it's
feel
safe.
like
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of minority comedians like to make white people uncomfortable because it's just funny to watch them squirm because you're like, ha, you're finally uncomfortable too.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, and they're like, it's okay, white people, you can
I
laugh.
honestly,
It's like microdosing reparations.
it is.
Yeah.
I think one of the funniest things that I've seen happen is when someone, like when one minority tells a joke, or no, it wasn't even a minority. It's like if a white person tells a joke that's questionable, everyone looks at like the first person of color they can find to like for like approval.
Yeah,
Like,
yep.
That's what I'm saying. That's why
I've
it's
done
so
that.
funny
Yeah, I've
as a
done-
performer. Because I'm like, why do you need this? Like,
Yeah.
because everybody else is comfortable enough to laugh. It's only the people that are like inherently have some weird feeling about it that they're like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
who's watching me laugh at this?
So I think one of the things I do is overthink everything, right? Like, so I was thinking about this the other day, and I think I was even talking to you about it, where I think that part of that discomfort comes from people are unable to distinguish like a stereotype for a joke and actual discrimination.
Oh yeah, we
But
were
I
talking about
think
that.
The reason so many jokes work is because a stereotype is usually like when it hits really hard is because that person has a specific example of somebody in their life
Yeah.
that they relate to. So it's not a stereotype and them like, yeah, that's how those people are. It's, I know somebody like this.
Yeah.
And the fact that when you make that relatable and it's like a celebratory thing, it's not exclusion. It's like you're bringing people into that world, and if they have somebody similar in their world, they're like, yeah, like I'm familiar. I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, you know, like, I don't know. I think people put too much weight on it because of the nature of media and the time we're in. But that was what so much of like early stand-up was and still is. And like, that's some of the funniest shit, man. I don't know. It's just funny because it's like, we know like inherently like there are some things that like the office culture, which is predominantly a corporate America kind of creation, is specific to America. Like you can go to any European country and there's all million different variations of white, but they're racist towards each other just because of the fucking centuries of, oh, this fucking border got pushed this way and then this way, and there's whole subsets. And it's just like, America's such a big melting pot that you forget that like in other places it is kind of, people keep more to themselves into their groups. America, you're forced to live in it, so some people it makes them uncomfortable, and I always think it's because of their own like inner discomfort with that subject or those people, like whatever group of people it is, because if they were like truly comfortable, then they laugh. They're like, yeah, I know somebody like that. Like that's why I think it's fun to keep doing it.
I think that's a good point with stereotypes, is that it's, if they're not backed by experience, that's when it becomes a problem.
Right. Then it's just prejudice. Right. But if there's like a stereotype in a character, like if I make a joke about a Mexican gangster, like a cholo, like that is a stereotype, but then I have people in my life who I base that off of. Yeah. You know, so it's not like completely just me like talking shit like all Mexicans are cholos. No, I'm just saying here's a cholo who happens to be Mexican that I know, and right, like that's a real dude.
Can you be a non-Mexican cholo?
Yeah, there's plenty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's even fucking Japanese cholos. There's a whole little subculture in Japan.
Of like Japanese, like Japanese cholo people. And,
they have lowriders. They have like the Dickies and all the like fucking black and gray tattoos. Like
it's like an interesting subculture there.
I think I have a new life goal now.
To be a Japanese cholo?
Yeah. Man, well, you could somehow figure out the Japanese part.
I gotta figure out the Japanese part first.
But wait, so Tony, like I said, you're such an experienced comedian. How did you actually get started in comedy?
I just went to an open mic. As dumb as that sounds, I wanted to do it for a really long time, probably since I was like 16, but just was always like, nah, that's something like people do, like not something I'd do, just because I didn't find myself that funny. But after like 2 open mics that went well, I bombed the 3rd time, and I came back the 4th and was like, okay, I just like, it can suck really bad, but it can also be really fun, so I'm just going to try to suck less each time. Yeah, that was really my only goal, was just to be incrementally funnier each time. And then just 5 years later, it's like, okay, now there's a little bit of an act, there's something there.
I feel like I want to get that tatted on, suck less each time.
You'd have like such, like all your jokes are so thought out and so meticulous. And I've also, I mean, we've been going to the same open mics for ever since we started, so like 9 months, so I kind of know some of your material, you know all my material, but I feel like your jokes are so well thought out, so well structured. The delivery is just so on point I would say most of the time, because one time I think you got upset because you forgot like a part of your joke, and then you went, God damn it! And that was pretty funny. You're like, God damn it! And then that was supposed to lead to this and that, and I was just like, I've never seen him break down, but it was kind of funny watching him break down.
Well, because I got like, I don't know if you've ever been like in a bit where like it's almost like how lyrics to a song, when you're singing along, you're not thinking of them, you just know what comes next. Yeah. Same thing with a bit, but if I like to break down my sets and go like, okay, these jokes I've been working on, but now I just want to toss them out of order, so that I'm forced to just like find a way to make them work like outside of the transition or whatever fucking subject I'm talking about, just to be more loose. And when I do that, sometimes I forget that certain words will trigger my memory into going to a tag or a punchline that used to not be there, you know? So then I'll do like an older version of a joke or just a shittier version. And that particular time I was like, dude, this punchline hit so hard, but I already used it. I forgot that I had flipped the order. It worked much better this way. So like I explained it to everybody in like 10 seconds. I said like a minute's worth of material. It was just like, blah, 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 and then boom. Yeah. And people were like, what the fuck? It's
I
like,
know.
Sorry.
I've done that where I literally wrote like almost a 3-minute joke, and then I told it in like less than 30 seconds. I was like, fuck. But like, can I ask you like what your writing process is like for your jokes?
So a lot of my shit is not necessarily verbatim, but I do write out like, this is the joke. Like I sit and write and if I have like a topic I'm working on, like I'll sit and write, then I try it on stage, but it very often comes out differently than how I wrote it. So then I'll listen back and I'll write that, and I do transcribe, I break down, I like cut shit out that's just not working. So it's like a constant like
editing.
Constant editing, and I do structure like themes almost, like one bit will lead into the next, where a lot of people are like really funny just being goofy with one-liners and non sequiturs, and I love that, but then it's easier for me to remember, especially like really like full bits if they kind of follow in a sequence. That's why I like to like break down a set, rewrite it, and then once it's like tight, I go, this is 5-minute portion, or this is 8 minutes, and then move on. Like
I think that that's something that I've looked up to, like as I've gotten into like writing, is that like I know that you like structure whole sets. Like I've noticed that before, and like I kind of like started being like, okay, how does this joke lead into this one, and this one leads into this one,
and like I guess the reason for it is like some of the hardest parts are opening, right? When you start your set, and then closing. Like everybody refers to like a closer for like a stand-up special, right? Like the last joke, you want to end it on a pop. That is a skill to have, but like you can build callbacks into it. You can build like, or your opener, whatever that is, like it can be opener and the closer have a callback. Like, so just some sort of like feeling of completion. Yeah. Because it's weird at like open mics, especially if we're just like talking shit and all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's my time, and like there was nothing else left, versus like I stuck the landing, here's where my set ends, bye. And that's why like I started writing more. But I've also noticed that if I have material and I'm like really confident in it's tried and true, then I can fuck around, I can riff, and it just flows in a different way that like doesn't feel scripted, because like really long jokes can feel scripted.
And that's the hardest thing to do, is make it not feel like something that you sat and practiced in the mirror 45 times, because that's exactly what you did, but you're trying to make it seem like that's not. At least that's what I do. It's like I'm like recording in my notes app, and like.
You practice in the mirror too?
Not in the mirror usually.
Okay. I was like,
I tried that once. I actually did that. Like I told the joke about like practicing in the mirror naked. I actually did try that, and it didn't work.
That just be unsettling to me.
No, it did, because I was naked, and I was like, wait, why am I naked though? I was like, I need to get over my fear of being judged, so I'm gonna be naked in front of the mirror. And then I kept saying it, and then I realized my boobs were bigger than.
So that's something that I think a lot of people, like most of the time when people go to open mics and stuff, it's because they're trying to overcome that discomfort with being in front of an audience. I think what broke that for me was in the like semifinals of the
Funny Bone,
the funniest person in Columbus contest,
Yeah.
because that was the only time that the like size of the audience ever got to me. And after that, I was like, I need to learn how to not give a shit about that.
That is that's a separate experience in itself. One thing is to be in front of an open mic audience, and then your first club audience. That's why I'm sorry if I freaked you out about that conversation with the Funny Bone about like some people were like unprepared. What I meant was like, you're not prepared for that feeling, because it's like it almost takes you back to being first time on stage of like, oh shit, what do I have?
That's exactly what happened. I mean, the lights are hot. You can't see, you can only see the first 2 rows of people. I mean, they told me, like, Heather, your lights are going to be bright. You're only going to see the first 2 rows of people, and it's going to be pretty intense. And I'm like, okay.
It's disorienting.
I was like, okay, I get it. Like, I knew that, but then going up there and actually experiencing it is so different. And I struggled a little bit. And I think I did okay, but I could have, like, that was not my best performance I've ever had. It wasn't like the worst performance I ever had, but like I feel like everyone like was just like, oh, it's okay, you're doing so good. And I was like, this is so patronizing.
Yeah, that's the last thing a comic wants to hear is, it's okay, baby. Like, it
was okay though, but like I feel like it was good because I just needed that experience anyway.
Well, yeah. Wednesday's Room, if you want to like just briefly talk about that show, it was a really weird, like everybody was kind of tight. You could tell from the start. Like maybe it's just the fact that people hadn't, like everybody got there late, and the show actually started on time. So people weren't drunk yet and loose, but
yeah, I mean, it was like Terrence went up, and then I was second, and then you were third or fourth, or
I
were
was
you
third.
right after? Yeah, I mean, I mean, you got so many good laughs, Tony. I was like, I warmed them up for him. That's what I did.
I feel like that's surprising.
I pat myself on the back. I was like, I warmed them up for Tony. That's what I did.
I was gonna ask who opened that show, because
it was Terrence.
I know that like a show like that, it's very important that like the opener is like they have to strike just like the perfect balance of so many different things. Like a big show like that, like the opening is like one of the hardest. But Terrence he's very experienced. And he's
Terrence,
very funny.
the God show. I don't know why I said almost said the dog show.
You almost said the dog show.
No, yeah, he's funny. So that's interesting that they weren't like loosened up after. I feel like after him and then after you.
Well, he was like, he even got off stage and he goes, they were tight, and then you know, people were like told me, yeah, Heather, they were tight for you, and I kind of opened with the like kind of like a instant like boom, like I'm a squirter, I might squirt you guys because I get nervous, I get the not fun squirts, and they were all like, oh. They were like if I had gone maybe like later, that would have been funnier, but like my boyfriend was like, you started out with kind of a shocker.
Yeah. They were eating. They were
just trying to eat dinner.
That's also the weird part, why the Funny Bone's kind of weird for like opening the show when it starts on time, is because the nice part about some of those shows that are a little bit like door at 7, show at 8, is that they have that hour to sit and eat, and like other people are like drinking, and then you like loosen up and get used to the room instead of just like walk in, the show's starting, and you're like trying to like eat your fucking chicken tenders.
Food, and then I'm like, you didn't expect to get squirted, did you, sir? And he's like, okay.
And it's kind of unclear at that point, like what you're talking about squirting.
Yeah, well, that was kind of
that was the joke.
That was the joke. And then they were like, oh, you know. So I feel like I need to. That's why I wanted to ask you. I was like, how do you come up with like kind of like an opening joke for the first minute when you're getting to know an audience, like that kind of eases them into it versus like a shocker like what I did.
I like to like swing from the start, so it's like always going to be something that prepares them for my set, because I do know that sometimes if I don't preface certain jokes with the jokes that are about me, or like, you know, more so shitting on myself, it makes it much harder, and I kind of like dig myself into a corner a little bit.
So basically like start kind of like medium and then
I start with a pop, but it depends. It's like, do I want to start with a pop like a joke, or do I want to like address something that's going on in the room that's been like ongoing? So it's it depends. Like, so for example, the fireworks competition in Wiley's, I was late to. Long story short, I had a powerlifting meet. I still don't think it's my fault. Doesn't fucking matter. I was supposed to go like third to last, which is a great spot in a lineup, especially if you're contest, when everybody's hot. Then by that point, and you can just crack. I was forced to go first because I was late, and the booker like made it a big deal and like told people like, this asshole like put him up top, like change his order on your like little voting thing, like, you know, like giving me a ton of shit for it. So I had to address it because it was like everybody was like weird about it, you know. So I was just like, I was like, oh, I'm like, sorry I was late. I was running around stealing jobs like all day.
Oh my
so
God.
It was like a good way to like lead right into a joke, but still addressing the fact, because it had made the room really weird. It's like, hey, we're here for comedy. I'm doing 5 minutes, like, you know, the opener, and then she's like, by the way, this next guy, like, he sucks for this, like, make sure you like put him on the and like, you know, to her credit, it wasn't like a he sucks like he's a shitty person, but she's like, it sucks that I have to do this to him, like I gotta make him go first because he was late, like, so she just explained the situation, but it was still weird because,
but if you were late, why would they make you go first? Like, you were late to like the call
to the comedians meeting. But
I've never heard of like that happening where they made you go first if you're late to the comedian meeting.
I feel like there's always some kind of like catch.
Well,
like, if you're late or something, there's going to be some kind of.
And I understand it because like think about it. If you're running a show and somebody hasn't shown up when they're expected to, then you go like, shit, we might have to move things around, or
true.
It costs us a spot for somebody else, especially like on a contest. Like, oh shit, this guy took up somebody's spot that like actually wanted to be here. It's not that I didn't want to. It's just different shit. But the biggest thing with that story was, on the way there, it was raining, it was pouring rain, and I was like on my phone like trying to like just text whoever came up first so I could say, hey, I'm gonna be like late, cutting it like right on time. And I texted the wrong fucking booker.
Oh, no.
And then there were both these two older white women. She gave me shit. She was like, do you think we all look the same?
Oh, that's funny.
It's the only acceptable joke in that situation.
But it was because, like, you know, like on your contacts, especially for like Facebook, like recents pop up. And I went to click and I just wasn't like clicking, you know, like attentively. I got fat fingers. I don't know. I was just like, boom, okay. Yeah, and I texted the wrong person. And they still knew because she was at that show. She was one of the judges. But people remember how you made them feel, not what you did necessarily. So she was stressed.
So when when you did that and you addressed like you were like, I'm late because I was stealing jobs, like did you still do well in the competition?
Yeah. I got third.
Good.
Yeah, this is like I did really well, and she also came up to me after. She's like, "You asshole! Like if you had gone when you were supposed to, like you probably could have won this thing."
Exactly.
She's like, "Instead, you had a cold start and you still fucking killed it." So she was like, "Stop making me be mean to you," and she gave me a hug. So yeah, very sweet. But
I think sometimes those like kind of hard lessons are good. It's like it's kind of for your benefit. It's sort of like a coach.
Yeah, because it's like that was pretty. I mean, it was decent stakes. It's a contest. Like there was money on the line.
Yeah.
But like, say it was for like a comedy booker for like, you know, the Improv or some like actual like prestigious chain of clubs. Actual like, I'm not, you know, what I'm saying is like,
I know you're not dogging
when there, when there's like really high stakes,
right?
You know, for something that can like actually put you on like a tour of the Funny Bones, you know, that's like, don't fuck those up. So like these little,
I kind of fucked up the Funny Bone on Wednesday though.
How?
I just was nervous, but he was like, "Oh, we'll have you back," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." I don't know if he was just saying that to me.
I think people understand when it's your like first time.
I don't know. I feel like everybody was being like too nice to me, so then that made me feel like I did really bad.
like, don't coddle me. Just fucking
tell me I did something wrong.
I know.
Or give you a fist bump and move on.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I like when I bomb. I'm just like, yeah, just fucking.
Yeah, I was like, let's just stop telling me I tried. It's okay. Stop telling me it's okay. Is it really that bad?
The way you said that, like you opened that show, I think is something I've seen you do a lot, where you very quickly let the audience know not just like what to expect from you, but kind of like who you are.
Right. You got to like establish a tone a little bit of like, because some people will get turned off to a particular style of comedy, and then some people also just get turned off to me as the way I look. Like you get like the fucking, I hate when comics bring me up like that, like, oh, this handsome guy. It's like, I'm like, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, just say my name. I'll fucking walk up there. Don't, ooh, who is it? Now everybody's like, oh, is he gonna be hot? And then it's like, if I'm even like remotely found attractive by somebody or somebody's partner, I see it a lot with gay couples too, when they clap like, he is, and then all of a sudden like their partner's sitting there like fuming. I'm like, motherfucker. I hate it. It's just the most.
Oh my
it's
God.
I guess we just found
being
my biggest
hot
fucking.
is your kryptonite?
No, being addressed as, because I don't even think I'm objectively that attractive. It's like, okay, like I do okay, right?
Yeah.
Like I look fine. I'm not like disgusting to look. That's me.
Right.
What I'm saying is like, I'm not. If I were to ask somebody out, it wouldn't be an insulting no. It'd probably be like a no. You know, like
you get like a pleasant no.
Yeah, I get like, I at least get a courtesy no. It's not like an outright disgust.
Me and you talked about this once, because we were talking about Matt Rife and like being an attractive comedian, and you said that was like a really big disadvantage because they already assume he's an asshole. So that's why you said it was another. You said it was another comedian, but it wasn't Matt Rife. This one comedian, he's like, people think.
Jeselnik
said that.
Yeah, he had that a lot. Dane Cook is another good example. Yeah. And again, it's like hot by comedian standards, right? So you always got to give that like caveat. But when it's open, or not even open by comedians, but you know, like the standard male comedian is more often than not like not the best looking, right? So if there's even like a slight sort of, oh, this guy's actually good looking, then people like it puts you like on the defense.
That's
always.
happened to you too,
it's a weird
Tristan.
expectation.
Because people are like, because like I think Murph Henderson was like, I would like lick Tristan's face. He was
he didn't lick me.
No. He said, oh, I'm gonna marry him later. It was something like he made comments about how attractive Tristan was, and I was like,
Murph was very inebriated one time at Silver Pint,
and then like it was just really funny. I just happened in multiple places. They're like, oh, this really good looking guy is coming after me, Tristan. And then Tristan comes up, and then Tristan's like, hi. Then they're like,
maybe that's contributed to a couple times where I bombed really bad. I hadn't even thought about that being a connection.
So the reason I think about so oftentimes how like you're brought up is because it is like a frame for the audience. And you guys weren't around for this, but Shrunken Head, that was like the OG open mic in Columbus for like fucking
ever
12, 15 years.
Yeah.
Nick Glasser, who hosted it for 9 of those years, would always bring everybody up the same way. This next person, really funny guy, really good friend of mine, give it up for blank. So because you standardized the introduction, you always reset the baseline to like a 3 or 4 out of 10, right? Like just, you don't bring the room to a complete stop. You don't like sometimes you would ride the energy of somebody that like just fucking crushed.
Right.
But more often than not, it's just best to reset and give everybody the same opportunity and like starting point and let them take it wherever they want, instead of, here's this really big expectation, this guy's been all over, he's killing it, and it's like, what if I wanted to just fuck around tonight and do new material, and now all of a sudden, he was at this show this time, so like he's gonna be great, and I'm like, I don't want to be great, I need some shit to fucking
like,
do, like.
That's interesting.
I never thought about standardized introductions, because I've noticed a couple of the
I've
open
noticed
mic
like
hosts
they're
do
like,
that.
he's a really good friend of mine, blah blah blah, or like I've seen him around and blah blah blah. But it's like, because we do piggyback mics a lot of the time, so then like the introduction for people is just always thrown off, especially if they don't remember your name or they bomb themselves, and then then we're all dead, and then we're looking at you and we're like, who is this? Versus like, it's like, I mean, I know why piggyback mics are a thing, but sometimes you're just like not set up correctly.
Yeah, it's just, again, it's just nice to have a reset and feel like, okay, we got to a certain level again. Now we can start from there. Like, it always just, for as hard as somebody could bomb at Shrunken Head, and I know because I was always like, I'd say my first year from 25 to 30 on the list of 30 open mic comics means you're going up like around 11:30 midnight on a fucking Monday.
Yeah.
So there's a level of, oh shit, this person just bombed, this fucking sucks, and yet every once in a while there's a reset and somebody just takes it and goes, and they crush to a room full of 2 audience members and 5 comedians, and it's like, okay, there's hope. So it's just like, because you constantly reset, it allows the potential for something good to happen, instead of just, it's tanking, let's fucking tank it all the way. Now it's just like weird for all of us, nobody wants to be here, fucking, I don't know, it just always gave me that sense of, this could be the one, this could flip the room again. Like,
do you think you'd ever host an open mic?
I was offered one actually today. From Tyler Sessman, from
Sweet.
dude up in Polaris. But I don't know, mainly because I want to do the road in the winter, and then I'd much rather be in love with comedy than feel like this is fucking work.
Job.
I gotta like show up and like, no, you don't get special treatment. I know you gotta work early tomorrow, but like, because for me, I always just thought like, fuck it, I'll eat shit. Like, yes, I'll go 29th on the list of 30. Like, sometimes I'd get bumped.
Yeah.
Like, I don't give a shit. Like, whatever. I'll go when I go. I'll go when it's my turn. And I have that, maybe it's the immigrant in me. I'm like, nope, no breaks. Sorry. Like, just, you can sign up, a randomized list. And I know that would rub people the wrong way, but I don't feel that there's another way to do it fairly.
I agree.
Because then people are like, oh, he always puts his friends first, or he always puts them on a good spot and not me. And then like, I don't want to have to deal with any of that bullshit, because I personally like don't care enough to.
Yeah.
I don't feel like people get really butthurt like about it anymore. I think one time I got butthurt about it, and then
I disagree.
Yeah,
What?
people still care.
People care. Yeah. People. I think the only people who hear about it are like the people who are moving around and the hosts. We don't hear about it because we're the same way.
Yeah, we're not the hosts,
If I show up at 5s on a Tuesday, I'm like, I might be going at 11:45. I don't care.
Yep, I go to mics with the understanding that that's my evening.
Yeah.
Whereas some people are like, but what if I want to have plans and do this afterwards? Like, well, maybe skip the mic that day.
Or like go early. Like, don't expect to show up at 8:30 and to go like 5th when they already started at like 8:05, and like you were, I mean,
well, and I kind of plan on like, if I want to do something else that evening, like a lot of times we've done like an improv practice and then we go to an open mic, because we're like, we're gonna be out anyway.
Like, we're gonna be out, might as well try to do 2 things at once. Like, we would go to Gresso's and then we try to go to Saber Pint.
Yeah, and I do understand that, especially us in Columbus being fortunate enough to have multiple mics one night. Like, sometimes we do have to balance, like, hey, I have to run from this one to that one. At the same time, in a place like New York or Chicago, where there's so many mics, you already have to be choosy with where you want to go. Yeah. So it's like if I wanted to go to Half Baked, to the interruption mic, I go there knowing I'm gonna go fuck around, because it's hard to do stand up here. It's a weird room. Like, everybody's,
it is a really weird room.
It's overstimulating. It's not conducive to stand up. It's not silent. There's music. There's fucking TV. It's like all the shit going on that like detracts from the stand up, but can make for entertaining shit if like something crazy happens, or if there's a good riff with me and Ian, or me and Dan, the fucking hosts or the crowd. Something non-real, like stand-up related might happen that could be good, but I go there with that expectation. Versus 5s, I'm like, I could get a 5 to 10 minute set there's going to be a crowd listening intently, so I can work out a joke or a thought. You know, like that's why I pick and choose, and you start to find like where your most valuable stage time is, and some people do have favorite mics for that reason, and I go like, great.
If you don't have a favorite, then you haven't really worked out what's best for you. Then if you don't,
I think that's also like such a good point, that different opportunities present different things.
Right.
Like, and understanding that like the inspiration can happen in one setting and then take it, like, because I think of like interruption mic, like I never thought of like some of my material in the way that they did, and so then that kind of made me rethink my material, and then it's like, okay, maybe this is where the funny is. And I also like, because I'm really into sketch and improv and all of this, so I'm like, everything is kind of conceptualizing, where does this experience go into material somewhere else?
Right, it can fit. And like, that's when you asked me about improv earlier, like I love it because every once in a while I've had stupid thoughts and I'm like, how could I ever use that as a joke? But you know that like freeze game with improv, where like you steal somebody's pose that you like and then you play off of whatever pose they just hit when you froze them. There was like one where Barack, you guys know him, was like sticking his leg out, and like I took his spot, and I was like, see, the thing about Muslim girls is that, you know, they're freaky when they give you that little ankle, and I picked up my pants, and I was like, that's just like a thought that I've had before that I've said just randomly, you know, at the barber shop or wherever the fuck, just to be silly. But I didn't know how to ever write that as a bit, and yet it was like a perfect opportunity in improv just out of nowhere. I was like, okay, great, like. So I don't know, you just never know where like the like thought or inspiration can like come from, but sometimes it feels like it just gets injected into a situation. And again, that's like why I go to certain mics and I go, I could get this level of crowd interaction here, and I could get this level of joke development here. Right. And some mics I go to and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen, right? Sometimes it's comedian, so I go like, maybe some new spud or nugget of a joke will come from it.
And sometimes you just get the culture from it. Like I don't want to say who it was, but there was a time when an open mic comedian like flashed her boob in the middle of her set at an open mic, and it was like, then that became like a whole part of the culture of that mic, where it was like, we were like, can you believe that time? We
didn't even know what to expect anymore from that open mic. We've since talked to her about it, and she was cool.
Which mic was this?
It was at Fives.
Fives?
Yeah.
And so then, you know,
ever since then, that became our favorite spot, because we're like, what the fuck is gonna happen tonight? Because either way, it could go. It's like, could go super well. It could be medium, or it just is like always weird.
I never knew this happened.
Yeah, I think that was like a real bonding moment too between Xavier and us, because we were like, can you believe that just happened?
Can you believe? And he was. I don't think he was in the room. He goes, she just flashed you guys. We're like,
no,
yeah.
He was definitely in the room.
Oh no, he said he got a picture of your face.
No, I was gonna say he was in the room like.
Yeah. It was,
yep, got it.
No, but like we didn't like. I was like, I asked her. I was like, please don't show your body parts again. She goes, oh my bad. And like blah blah. Like she didn't like.
Yeah,
I think she did it like. I think she did subconsciously. You want to know whose titties we?
I feel like I know whose it was.
Yeah,
Even just off that like apology. So,
yeah, she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." We're like, "No, it's okay."
Yeah, I know exactly what it is.
And then she was like, "Do you want to see my OnlyFans pictures?" We're like, "No." We love you.
Yeah, if you're listening to this, we're not trying to.
No, we love you so much.
Not trying to shame.
You will be on the podcast soon. We promise.
Yeah. But yeah, so we've kind of talked about like the process, like past, present of comedy, things like that. What are your goals like in the near future with comedy?
I want to have so this winter I'm going to do the road. Like I have a couple festivals coming up.
Yeah.
So like you're going to be traveling on the road. That's what you mean by the road.
Yeah,
I was like, is that a place you're going? Okay, shit. All right. Traveling comedian.
No. Like I actually want to like go out and do a Northeast, not Ohio, fucking Northeast America, like, you know, New York, Boston, Philly, like do DC, run that gamut.
Oh shit.
Go down south, with the end goal being Austin down there, but just hitting like big markets like Nashville, Atlanta, and then make my way down to Texas, and then West Coast, California. So I'm even Chicago, like I guess that would be northeast from us, but northwest, whatever. Like I'm wanting to just be well-rounded and develop my skills. I don't know. I don't necessarily look as like, oh, I want to be like getting paid for the show featuring at this amount of time. Like I just want to have like the experience, because comedy's been like a 10 to 15 year game in my head.
Right.
Granted, we're on a different stage now where you can fucking put everything
Right.
out and blow up overnight. But all the people that I looked up to and respected the most were like tried and true veterans who did the fucking road, did all the shit rooms, did all the shitty bar shows, like all the mics. Like that's all the stuff that really cuts your teeth that no one's ever gonna see. But like every once in a while you're bombing and all of a sudden there's a past experience and you have that ready to go and boom, it saves you. And it's like makes you better. So my only goal is just to continue to build my material at the moment. I have like 25-30 minutes that I'm like, okay, great, I've done this before, it works, it's great. But I want to have like a person I really look up to is Simon Fraser, because he had that road experience where he's younger than me.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy. But when we were both in college, he had time to like drive around college to college, throw his own shows, do material, but also like you're doing stand up, like there's all reps. So he went from, hey, I know this guy has 20 minutes, so all of a sudden he had an hour and a half of material. Yeah. Like what the fuck? Over a year, just like built a true hour.
Yeah. That's like the intense.
Right. Like that's the grind of like over and over again, because you can only milk open mics here so much. Yeah. There's times where you can go, oh, that could be funny because it's a dead room. There's only comics. And we know, obviously, as comics, there's that weird like energy that, that they don't want to.
They don't want to.
You don't want to give them too much.
Right. Like, I don't know why. It's just like you can feel that sort of like.
It's like, because like, I'm not going to laugh. I know you're not as good as. It's like they don't want to give you the validation because maybe you didn't laugh at their jokes because you've heard their jokes a million times.
Maybe, but like I always try to laugh, like, because I want to have a good time.
I know I try to laugh, but sometimes I'm just like, I know what you're going to say.
Sometimes I laugh, and I know I've heard Ian Miller do this too. Sometimes I laugh harder when people aren't crushing, because it's just like,
it's just
I'll give them something. It's funny, like it's. Because, like, the room just goes dead, and that's the funniest thing. And then it's like, okay, like, I'll give you something.
Yeah, but it's like that over and over again, you can only squeeze so much out of before you notice a difference of, like, oh, shit. Like, I've been fortunate enough to do, like, multiple shows in one night, and sometimes I go, like, fuck. All of a sudden, I have a minute and a half of a riff that, like, turned into something just because you, like, that's what developing material is. Like, you take a premise and maybe you heckled, or maybe you just thought of something crazy and all of a sudden you go that route. And like you can only do that at shows where you're practicing your material and actually doing material. Versus open mics, if you just stay stuck in that trap, you start to think like nothing's fucking funny, like these guys suck, this sucks. Like there's nights we all have where we're like, what the fuck am I doing here at 11:52 on a Tuesday? Like like I should be at home asleep.
I got work in the morning.
Yeah, I got work in the morning. Like all the shit that like drains your energy. But when you're on the road and you do new rooms and everything's novel, you get that like love for. Oh shit! This is stand up. This is what it is. Like
you're like literally changing your environment so you can grow. Yeah. And also because like you're new to that area, no one knows
and you're
who
new
you
to them.
are.
Yeah, you're new to them.
And they're like, who is this guy? We want to hear what he has to say. I mean, your stuff could be like so lit with just because like if you go to a different area, like people are probably so different than they are here in Ohio versus like Austin. You could be a fucking pop star there, man. Like you could be a rock star.
I think like, have you guys ever been, I'm thinking in particular Tennessee, but have you done any stand-up in the South where there's a lot more like of a Christian-centric culture?
I have not.
No.
I almost did when I went to Nashville, but I was going to hit an open mic, but I did not have time.
So even areas like that, it's nice to have like a change of pace because so many of those are clean and they're also Christian. So it's like weird to be like, oh wait, this is comedy though. Like you have expectations of like what not to say and like things to avoid, like, and learning to adjust to that is also a skill. Like clean comedy is a huge market. It's a big part that like you should be able to do if you want to make money. Not to say that you have to, because some comedians feel like I'm selling myself out, that's not who I am. Fine, that's not for you. But to be able to do that if you want to do comedy professionally might get you to the point where, I don't know, you make an extra $300-400 on a show that was clean just because, hey, you were in town that day, they wanted you, and who knows.
Yeah, like corporate comedy shows, and like I've seen them, like they fly people out. I mean, it's like you could go on like a tour, you go to colleges, you could go to Christian colleges. I mean, it's just like
it's just like
marketable.
Learn in other markets because we're Columbus. Even going up to Cleveland, like I went up there and I thought like, oh shit, I thought like Columbus was pretty progressive, but every once in a while, like a town will surprise you, where you're like,
Yeah.
damn, you guys are super PC. Like this is, it could be the night, it could just be the crowd, but it's weird to know that there's like, we're not, I guess, like the proper encapsulation of all of America. Like some shit will surprise you that you're like, Columbus is actually pretty liberal, but like not like leftist.
Yeah.
Versus you go to some places like this is super leftist and like, what the fuck? Like, you know, you like have to adapt to it.
I mean, even going to like one open mic, me and Tristan went to a queer open mic, and they did not like some of the stuff I had.
They were doing like content warnings and trigger warnings before their sets and stuff. And I went up and I was like, my bad. Like,
yeah, I even like apologized to somebody afterwards because they told me I told like one of the jokes I told was like a little racist, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I've never literally had anyone ever tell me that my joke was racist, even though it was a complimentary joke.
Well, you apologized to like the queer community and didn't apologize for like the joke you told that was like about race, and then he was like, oh, so you apologize to the queers and not like the black community. That's okay. Like, and I was like,
I mean, that's the annoying part too, though, is because there's like a difference between racial and racist jokes, right? And like people don't make that distinction, and sometimes it's fun to like ask those people like, explain what's racist about it. Because it's not that it was racist. It was a racial-based joke. You're referencing something. But if they feel weird about it, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Like, when they feel weird about it, it's like when you ask them to explain, they're like, well, it's because they do this. And you're like, you just stereotyped and made it. Like, so some wild connection or something.
Yeah, it was just some sort of weird, like, they just didn't appreciate it versus, like...
Right, but like, when you ask them why, it's generally because they either... didn't hear the way that you said the joke, so that they don't understand like why it is that it's funny, or they thought of something completely different. It's like, no, this is actually problematic, dude. Like, you don't understand that you're being racist. That's why you think this joke is racist.
Yeah.
Like, I've had that before where like I make a joke and then people like come up to me and like, oh, it's because of this, right? I'm like, that's not at all what I was saying, dude. Like I had you guys might have heard this, that I have like a joke about like mixed race babies. And this guy came up to me after a show one time. He's like, I got one for you, like black and Mexican, convict.
Oh,
and I was like, see, that's just fucking racist, man. Because you're saying that, like, it's a joke. Like, that's what they're saying. Then a black and Mexican baby's going to be a convict. But I was like, no, here's how you make it racial. Like, black and Mexican, guilty until proven innocent. Yeah. And it's like, all of a sudden, like, what are you saying? I'm saying that, like, people would assume this person, because of the way they look, is guilty.
Yeah. Yeah, it's different versus guilty versus convict, because it's always like the stereotype of like the injustice of race versus like the racial, like the actual racist thinking that they are convicts just because they are black and Mexican.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Stupid.
And it's like the commentary of like what you're saying, like guilty until proven innocent. Like
I mean that's just
until proven innocent is like, that's real. That's shit. That's like if you're a person of color in the fucking justice system, you're jumping through a couple extra hoops, like you know, just because you're already on the defense, just even if you're not guilty at all, like you inherently just
well, that's a perfect example of like where it's like, no, like that your line of thinking is the problem,
right, exactly. And that's why I'm like, that's why when some people get offended, like I genuinely ask what is it that you have a problem with in this joke. And I love when it's like, the problem is you, dude. You read into this in a particular way that's problematic for your particular views, and you're just now realizing it, and it makes you uncomfortable. You're like, that's racist. Like, it was you fuck. Like,
I should have asked that person why they thought my Lord Fat Cock joke was offensive.
She was like, well, because not all black men have big dicks. I would know. He disappointed me. I only dated this guy because he had I thought he'd have a big fat dick, and he did. Like, you know,
the
like
person was like a queer black person themselves, so I didn't really know what they identified as.
And maybe he had micro penis, and he was just really upset.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, was it because I'm like, this is a usually been considered a compliment, and then it was racially funny because I mean it's true. He's Lord Fatcock, but I mean it's just like guys are like he's gotten high fives when me and him walked away. They're like yes. And one dude was like, literally, like, remember?
We did a show with Miko.
And Miko was like, "Hey man,
Miko-
God bless."
Miko
It was so
damn near
funny.
saluted the man. Like,
Like
he was
Miko
he
was like, he was like, "Nice to meet you,
Lord Fatcock.
nice to meet you, sir." Like, it was, I never seen him defer to anybody like that. He's like, "Nice to meet you, man."
he had mad
It was
respect.
so hysterical. But I'm just saying, like, I don't understand why, as a black person, you would find that offensive. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it was because I told the credit score joke.
stereotype.
Or it could be the fetishization.
Yeah,
I can never fucking say that word.
Fetishes. Yeah, basically.
Fetishization?
Fetishization.
It's just like
Fetishization.
you have a fetish. I've had someone literally tell me when I was in high school, she was like exclusively dating only Asian people. I think she dated an Asian girl and then she was dating an Asian guy, and she goes, "Oh, I'm only dating like this little." She was like a senior or junior. She was dating like a freshman Asian boy, and she goes, "I'm only dating him because I have yellow fever."
Yeah, see, that's wrong.
I've had people, and she was so strange. This girl was so strange.
Oh, fuck, man.
Oh.
It's a good joke, but it's wrong.
She wasn't even joking.
That's the thing.
though.
She wasn't joking.
She wasn't joking.
It'd be funny as a joke, but it's
And
not.
then I think she broke up with that boy, and she was talking to another girl, Asian girl that had just transferred to our school.
Damn.
And I was like, "Oh, you were talking to Sarah?" She goes, "Yeah, she seems nice." And me and her were kind of talking, I was like, "She told me she has yellow fever." And she was like, "What? That's racist." It was like this whole thing. Like,
You don't say.
the Asian girl like immediately was like, "I'm not talking to that girl. I'm not gonna do it." Blah blah blah. It was just so strange. But she's just like, "Yes, I have yellow fever."
Wild.
I mean, that's fetishization. Yeah, when
Yeah.
you're like,
100%.
But we were in high school, so it was even stranger. I don't know.
Maybe it's like maybe that person matured out of it.
I don't even remember
I
what
hope
her
so.
name was.
Yeah.
She was like some sort of like friend of adjacent. I don't even know who that bitch was.
I got a friend named Jason.
Adjacent.
Adjacent.
You have adjacent? I don't know. Anyway.
I have a Jason friend. All right. Well, this has been a very productive and educational conversation for any young comics in Columbus.
About yellow fever.
Yeah. Now we know the difference between stereotyping and I can't say it either. Fetishization.
Fetishization.
There you go. You got it.
Adding the fetishization.
Yeah.
Fetishization.
But Tony, it's been great having you on this podcast. We appreciate your
Yeah, thank you so much for coming.
time and your insight.
Thank you. I don't know shit.
No. We just.
But you
like
know
an
how much
hour
you
and a
can
half of-
bench press? Yeah.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
learned how much you can hip thrust.
Hip thrust.
That too.
Hit me up one of these days if you need a weight.
Oh,
He
but I
wants
thought
to
you
be
were going to
thrown
say
around.
spotter.
Or a spotter. Either one. We need a third person too. So, we just if you know any strong, preferably men.
I got a few.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
And
Well,
I just don't want like the sexual attention to be on camera because then we're already set up for a porno, and it's just like if
That's
we have to
true.
like flip the table, I will.
why
So,
do you think we have so many lights?
yeah,
to make my skin tone look whiter?
we try. We tried our
Try to
best.
make me
I've
like
been
blend
Heather
in.
Scott,
I've been Tristan Shae.
I've not been one of them. I'm Tony Cruz.
and we'll
Be
see you
Cruz.
next time for Comedic Behavior Therapy.
Yeah.
Bye.
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 Get your go to the gym.
With Tony and Tristan.
Yeah. Meet us there if you're a good spotter.
Sit on the front, straddle.
Oh my God.
The only option.